It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is showtime, Geno Jones Showtime. So I come to you live, normally Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, not 1 day, not 2 days, not 3 days, not even 4 days, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, or is the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Markel Bailey calls me Mr. 630. Subscribe, share, screen grab, pull or rip a video clip of today's show, because it's going to be epic. I'm just telling you now. Subscribe, share, screen grab, like, and binge watch all my back episodes, and tell everybody to subscribe. The Geno Jones Show is brought to you 5 days a week by CM, like Mary, CM Transportation. If you need dependable, if your business needs dependable, reliable, on-time transportation, CM Transportation is a company you need. You can check them out. Inquire, www.cm, like Mary, cmtransportationllc.net, cmtransportationllc.net, or you can call them, area code 843-606-2702, 843 area code 606-2702. Ask for Carissa Carter. Carissa, she is the CEO of CM Transportation. Telling you were watching the Geno Jones Show, and you have a business, existing business, or a new business. You need dependable, reliable, on-time deliveries for your company. So you need a transportation company that can do all that for you, because you need one, or the one you got don't do any of that. So she's got you. Just ask for Carissa Carter or anyone in the office and tell them Geno told you to call. All right, listen, I need you to do me a favor. If you're watching me, I need you to text or find another phone, and you need to call everybody, or as Nelly would say, call everybody you know, everybody, because this is about to be epic. But it's important because people are playing with us, playing with you, okay? And I don't like it when people play with my people, with my family. But first, it's Aries time to shine. Happy birthday today to the comedian and actor, my man Orlando Jones. He first, back in the day, he was on Mad TV. He's been in several movies, actually. So he was like a lead actor in this movie called Double Take. Eddie Griffin was in that movie. Then he was in a movie called Biker Boys, and I know he was in Stomp the Yard, because I think he was like the head of the fraternity. So anyway, Orlando Jones, no relations, not that I know of, no relation, 56 today. Young man, he was born Jonathan Davis, but you know him as Q-Tip, from a tribe called Quest, a DJ and actor, along with being a rapper. Q-Tip, 54 today. And Kenny BabyFace, hey BabyFace, yes, Kenny Edmonds, aka BabyFace, who got the nickname BabyFace from, the name is Bootsy, baby. Story goes, so when Kenny was like 16, I guess somebody introduced him to Bootsy. It came into a studio, and they said Bootsy looked at Kenny Edmonds at the time and said, hey BabyFace, that kid's got a baby face. Hence the name, and it stuck for all these years, because today BabyFace is 65. So BabyFace still got, he don't really have a baby face, but the brother still got the youthful look. So they say black don't crack. So happy birthday to Face, Q-Tip, and Orlando Jones, and all my Aries out there celebrating a birthday today, Wednesday, on my radio show. I call it Working Divas Wednesday. So for all my working divas, shout out to you. All right, so this is where it's about to get real epic. So first of all, I heard some video, and I am not even going to refer to him. I'm not even going to use the affectionate name I have for this person. Orange Jumpsuit Hitler, orange jumpsuit jackass Hitler. I'm just going to straight up name check him today. Trump, Donald Trump, saying that I've done more for black folks than any other president in history. Okay, and then what really triggered me, like double triggered me and set me off, I hear video that Trump goes into a Chick-fil-A in Atlanta, in a neighborhood in Atlanta called Vine City, which is by Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Atlanta University, Morris Brown, right around MLK, Martin Luther King Boulevard. And anybody that knows anything about the HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities in Atlanta, you know they are in what's considered the hood. Now, let me just say this, because I've called my people in Atlanta, done some research. So people in Atlanta believe that this was staged. And if you've seen the video, they say it looked very staged. So Trump goes into a Chick-fil-A. Now, keep in mind, the owner, the founder, I believe his last name is Kathy. The founder of Chick-fil-A, I found out from people who lived in Atlanta all their life, had a history of, in his restaurants, I guess before Chick-fil-A got popular, he never wanted to serve or wanted black people in his restaurants. So that's just a footnote. So apparently Trump goes into a Chick-fil-A in the hood, Vine City neighborhood around the HBCUs. And you can hear in the background some, of all people, black women saying, oh, Trump, don't believe the media. Trump, we love you. And this is Morris Brown and Morehouse representing, which was kind of a tell, because women don't go to Morehouse. They go to Spelman or Clark, Atlanta. And that was a black woman. So that was kind of a tell right there, because she's saying we represent Morehouse. We represent Morris Brown and Morehouse. Well, no, you don't represent. I mean, you guys are brother and sister school, but you're a black woman repping a HBCU right there on, like, I forgot they call it a neighborhood, because they all are basically on the same plot of land. All three HBCUs, Morehouse, Clark, Atlanta University, and Morris Brown. So she's like, oh yeah, we repping Morris Brown and Morehouse. Nah, you would have been repping Spelman, or maybe even Clark, Atlanta. But I digress. So apparently Trump goes into this Chick-fil-A, so he buys, I guess there are like 30 people in there, so he buys 30 milkshakes and 30 chicken sandwiches. So that goes to show you how little. First of all, he thought he could sell you some cheap-ass, bootleg-looking-ass gym shoes. Really ugly, knockoff, loud-ass gym shoes. And thought that that would make black people love him because, you know, black folks love sneakers. So I can sell them these sneakers with the T on the side and they'll love me. So today, he just figures, you know, black folks are cheap. I can buy black folks for a milkshake and a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. People are playing in your face. He is playing. He's playing with you and playing with your mind and playing with your family and playing in your face. And he said that he's done more than any president ever. So, and I'm doing this with love. I'm specifically talking to my brothers and sisters. But I'm talking even I'm speaking specifically to the culture, to all the black Americans. But I'm speaking to my white brothers and sisters and Hispanic, my Afro-Latino brothers and sisters, even the ones who identify as white Hispanic, and Asians and Native Americans. Oh, because he's coming for you all, already come for all of us in some kind of way. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the straight dope. And to the culture, to my brothers and sisters, I'm going to say this to you with love. Now, it's going to come on strong. You know, like some medicine is like strong. You're like, woo, this medicine is strong. but it's going to be good for you because it's the truth, because this person he is insulting your intelligence. He thinks that we collectively, he thinks that he really thinks that all people really are dumb and stupid, but he really has a disdain, and he really thinks that black people are dumb and inferior and don't read and can't read and don't have common sense and don't use critical thinking. These are all the narratives and the racial tropes that he and people who support him say about black people. And you can learn a lot about a person. Their mouth can say one thing, but what do they do? Your actions and your behavior really speaks to the true you and who you are and who you believe. And you think that black people is just all those negative adjectives I use to describe, that you all use to describe black people, all of us. That we're dumb and can be bought off for a milkshake and a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. And we're going to be like, oh, we love you, Donald Trump. You've done more. So I'm going to tell you what he has done to black people. Not opinion, fact. And for the MAGA cult, y'all not going to believe anything anyway. So that's your problem. But I am speaking to the culture, and I'm speaking to the Americans that have common sense and critical thinking. But specifically, since he said he's done more for black people than anybody else, than any other president. I think one time he tried to say, oh, I've done more than Jesus. Then he had the nerve to let that come out of his mouth, and was lucky that lightning didn't come down and strike him in top of his head. So I'm going to tell you what he has done to black people. Let's start off by, he has energized a climate. He has fostered. He is basically emboldened and like running an IV of racism, straight IV of straight racism and hatred, white Christian national, and a violent strain of it. He has energized a climate in America that has given all the racists, all the white Christian nationalists, all the Ku Klux Klan members, and those who want a civil war, and the Boogaloo Boys, and the Oath Keepers, and the Proud Boys, and the 3%ers that stormed the Capitol, and the ones in jail who claim that they are, he says, Trump says, they are like hostages. I know they're criminals, and that's why they got convicted, because they tried to violently overthrow the government, which is a crime. But he has energized and fostered this climate that has given all the racists and white nationalists, and white Christian nationalists, permission to be openly and violently racist and sexist. The repealing of Roe versus Wade, and we'll get to that a little later. We're going to talk about that. But what happened in Arizona, because he's not just coming for black people or Afro-Latino people or people of color. It's coming for women, including white women, and poor and working class white men. He's coming for your ass too, because he really didn't like you. All the men and women, but in this case, I wanted to segue all the white men and white women that have served in the military, family members served in the military, died, or had limbs blown off, had their health adversely affected. Maybe they were in Camp Lejeune and they come down with some kind of form of cancer because the water that the soldiers were drinking was polluted. And now you have all these lawsuits. You know what he said about those, including those white men and women who served, fought, and died to protect this country? He called them losers and suckers. To my white brothers and sisters, that's what he thinks about your ass too. And your family, your grandfather and your grandmother and your mother and father. He thinks you and they are losers and suckers. And what do they get out of it by serving their country and joining the military? That's what he said. Google it. You don't have to take my word for it. So he's created this climate that is, like I said, giving all the races and the white nationalists and that whole group permission to be openly and violently racist and sexist. Trump is responsible for hundreds of thousands. Now I'm taking it back to black people, since he said he's done more for black people than any other president. He's done more to harm black people than any other president since slavery was still law in America. Trump is directly responsible for hundreds of thousands of black Americans who unnecessarily died because when COVID-19 first hit, first of all, he knew about it. And he knew how dangerous he was. Because a guy named Bob Woodward, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, I don't know if he still works for the Washington Post. Legendary. Google Bob Woodward. He sat down with Bob Woodward, and Bob Woodward taped the conversation. And he told Bob Woodward, oh, I knew how serious it was, and I knew it was airborne, but I didn't want to scare people. I didn't want them to panic. So he lied. Actually, the first thing Trump did with COVID, really, we first started hearing about COVID late February, and then there was a state of emergency, a national state of emergency declared like the second week in March of the year 2020. First thing he said, that it was a hoax by the Democrats, because everything, of course, is the Democrats and the liberals' fault. It's those Democrats. They got together with the Chinese in a laboratory in Wuhan, China, and they created this COVID-19 virus that was biological warfare. Yeah, the Democrats. But it was a hoax. That was the first thing he said. Oh, it's a Democratic hoax. Then he said that it would just go away and it would just disappear into thin air. Then he told people to inject bleach, Lysol, and to shine an ultraviolet light down their throat, like the inside of your body was like a black light poster that we used to have on the wall back in the day with the sister with the bikini and the big afro. That's what he did. That caused over 1 million people in America to die. Black, white, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, everybody. But hundreds of thousands of black people. Because when this vaccine first came out, black people in general couldn't get the vaccine. Because a lot of these states, especially these southern states, it was the more affluent white neighborhoods that got the vaccine first, and you had to get in line and you had to wait in line in certain neighborhoods, got it first. I know that for a fact because it happened here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro area. The neighborhood I used to live in, they got the vaccine first. And it was just hard to get on that vaccine list. And it eventually worked its way to my side of town now. So I witnessed this. This is not something that somebody told me. This is what I witnessed with my own eyes. Now, you bragged about being Trump, you bragged about, you were the one. I'm the one that got rid of Roe versus Wade. But 3 judges on the Supreme Court stole one of those seats. And now in 15 states, like Arizona yesterday, their Supreme Court, the Arizona Supreme Court, pulled this law from 1864 out of their ass that basically said abortion is illegal under any and all circumstances, and a doctor that performs an abortion could get up to 5 years. Now, I'm here in South Carolina, here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro. They already passed, the MAGA cult down here already passed an abortion ban after 6 weeks. Now they'll say, well, no, hold on, Geno. There's an exception for rape and incest. But what they don't tell you is if you are a victim of rape or incest, to get an abortion, you have to report it to the police. So you've got a 10-year-old child that's been raped by a stepfather or an uncle or a male in her family. She's going to go to the police and tell them about her stepfather raping her. Does she even know what rape is? A baby at 10, and she's going to go to the police and say, my stepfather, my daddy, my uncle raped me? Really? No, they knew what they were doing. Same judges, they struck down affirmative action that was put in place to reverse all the institutional racism that still exists today. And like my guest yesterday, Sean Mitchell, who said, actually, for those who don't understand, affirmative action, the primary beneficiaries, the one group of people that benefited the most from affirmative action was not black folks. So all you white nationalists and MAGA cult members, well, see, black folks they just think that they're entitled to anything. They just think that we should just give them something. You ain't never gave us anything. But let me educate you. The people, the prime beneficiaries, as they call it, the group of people that benefited the most from affirmative action was white women, not black women, definitely not black men. Oh, and there's actually data to back it up. You can look and see all the affirmative action programs. There's numbers to back this up. There's data. You can actually see the groups, the individual groups who benefited the most, who got the most from affirmative action programs were white women. And the same thing for diversity, equity, and inclusion, who now the racists use those terms, and CRT, and you got people that just making up stuff to use in place of saying the N-word, who don't have the guts to call you the N-word with the hard ER at the end. So they say, you're an affirmative action hire. They said that about the mayor of Baltimore. And they really were saying it about the governor of Maryland, who are black. So when this container ship crashed into the bridge, one of the supports of the bridge there in Baltimore, that wasn't driven by a black person, wasn't owned by a black person, but somehow that the mayor of Baltimore, and he was a diversity, a DEI hire, and he said, duly elected, duly elected in office. I like that. He's an affirmative action hire. So any black person that's in any position to where you have white people working, or you just got it because you are a DEI hire or affirmative action, which goes to show you how dumb you are, that you're a dumbass. Because the truth is, if you see a black pilot or a black doctor or a black person in any space, there's a very few black people, that black person had to be doubly qualified to even get a shot to get into these positions of power, or positions, doctors, lawyers, pilots. Even you forget about the Tuskegee Airmen that were the baddest pilots in the military, who saved the lives of many white pilots back during World War II. Google that. There's your DEI for your ass. Do some homework. Also, Donald Trump said that he would send the military, he would send the Marines and the Army Rangers and the U.S. military into cities where you've got a high concentration of black people. Now, he didn't use the words because his dumb ass probably couldn't even form a high concentration. He probably couldn't get that phrase out of his mouth. So what he did, his code, he said, we'll send them to Chicago. Chicago is synonymous for N-word, Or Detroit. When he says Detroit, he's using the N-word. Or Newark, he's using the N-word. New York City, Atlanta, he's used to saying the N-word. So he wants to send the military to cities, like the cities I mentioned, where you've got a lot of black people that live in those cities and in those metro areas. And said he would send the military there to shoot peaceful protesters, like he wanted to do in D.C. Chicago, Detroit, D.C., he wants to send the Marines and the Army Rangers to go in and to shoot peaceful protesters because he wanted to do it in D.C. When George Floyd was shot and killed in 2020, and you had people peacefully protesting that summer, he actually told the man who was the Secretary of Defense, his defense secretary, a guy named Mark Esper. I've talked about this on the show. Google Mark Esper, E-S-P-E-R. And he said Donald Trump told him, when you had the peaceful protesters that were protesting in downtown D.C., protesting the killing of George Floyd. And I'm going to talk about how just Trump released or emboldened and amplified the hate among the racists who were in law enforcement. I'm going to update that. But Donald Trump told his defense secretary to have the military shoot peaceful protesters. And Mark Esper, who was the defense secretary at the time, said, we can't do that. The Constitution does not allow us to do that. And then Trump had the nerve to ask him, to show you how, his dumb ass, why? Why, if your ass ever read the Constitution, actually read it, you would know why. You wouldn't have had to ask your defense secretary why. Now let's talk about that climate. Let's talk about the climate that has given racists and white nationalists permission to be openly and violently racist. There's a case of some officers, former officers. They formed this little pack called the Goon Squad. Police officers paid by the citizens, Jackson, Mississippi. So these Goon Squad officers basically broke into a house. There were two black men there, and one of the black men was living with, or he had a white woman that was living with him. And some of these officers knew about it, didn't like the fact that this black man and this white woman were living together, having a relationship. Oh my God. And I heard news reports that said apparently that either the woman, the police had mentioned something to the woman or one of the men. So anyway, these Goon Squad, that's what they called themselves, the Goon Squad, they broke into this man's house. Now, the white woman was at work. So it was two black men. It was a black man and his friend. And these officers, they tortured these two black men. They waterboarded them. What is waterboard? You open somebody's mouth and you just pour water down their throat trying to choke them. They were tortured, sexually assaulted, demonic, perverted, sick behavior. One of these Goon Squad officers put his gun inside the mouth of one of the black men and shot him. And somehow the black man survived. Well, these black men finally got justice. These Goon Squad members have gotten anywhere from 15 to 45 years in prison. Just saw the story on the news, actually updated yesterday. Why do you think that these officers of the law would be emboldened and energized to feel that they could just break into a man's house, torture him, damn near kill him and his friend, because one of the men was living with and dating a white woman in the early 2020s? I can't remember exactly. I think it was either 22 or 23 maybe 2021 when it happened. Really? What do you think? Why do you think they felt emboldened to do that and figured that they could get away with it? Because of the racial climate of hatred that Donald Trump has committed. That is what he has done to black people. What he's done to women, who've turned women into second-class citizens in 15 states where you have abortion bans from 6 weeks to no weeks, and in a lot of cases with no exceptions, and in the cases of states like South Carolina, virtually no exceptions, because they claim there are exceptions if you are a victim of rape and incest. But you have to report it to the police, and they have to investigate it. Really? That's what he has done to black people. That's what he's done to women of all races. That is what he has done to America. And that's what he will do. So if you see Donald Trump in your neighborhood, if you live in the hood, and he comes in there to buy you a chicken sandwich and a milkshake, I would turn around and walk my ass right up out of there. But that's what he has done and will do more of. The same people that claim that they love children. It's the same person that separated thousands of children who came into the country with their parents who were migrants. Separated thousands of these babies. And thousands of these babies still have never returned to their parents. Thousands of babies ripped from their parents, and they said it was intentional because they wanted to punish people, and that would make them not come across the border. You know, we have to be mean. We have to punish them. So you punish a baby, you take a baby away from his parent, and you just give him to any goddamn body. That's what he has done, and that's what he will do, because he has told you. And for all my brothers and sisters that are saying, because what is Joe Biden done? Oh, a whole lot. Here's just one example. Do you know, like, millions of black people, and not just black people, but since we're talking about what he has done for black folks, what he didn't do, what Trump didn't do for black folks, he didn't eliminate millions, probably close to now probably close to $140 billion in student debt. Now he claims, I gave a little money to HBCUs, but he didn't give as much as President Biden did. But what he didn't do at all, he didn't eliminate any student debt. I guarantee you, there's somebody in your immediate family, extended family, somebody you went to high school with, maybe grade school, high school, or college, somebody in your neighborhood, somebody that you play basketball with, or you play cards with, or you watch the game, or ladies, one of your girlfriends that you travel with, one of your sorority sisters or fraternity brothers, or just somebody up the street from you that you know, I guarantee you, has gotten their student loan debt mostly or completely eliminated. Millions. That's just one thing that President Biden has done for black folks that your boy Trump didn't even think about doing. And if he got back in office, he said he would repeal that, I guess, and try to figure out a way to take some of that money back. And remember, you got 2 stimulus checks. Now, the first stimulus check, Trump didn't give it to you, even though Sexy Red and Waka Flocka and some other misguided brothers and sisters, who I say that with love, but sometimes we get misguided, and sometimes we get selfish because we may have money and we may have fame, and because we are in a certain tax bracket, we think, we are a magical Negro, we're special. He ain't gonna do nothing to us. Trump doesn't give a damn how much money you got. He'll come for you too. He's showing you that. But Trump did not want you to get the first stimulus check. You can thank Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. That's how you got that first stimmy check, Sexy Red and Waka Flocka. Trump didn't want you to get it, but the Democrats pushed it, and he said, okay, well, and then what happened when the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi pushed for the stimulus checks to be given to all Americans, not just Democrats or not just black folks. Then Mr. Orange Jumpsuit Hitler said, okay, I tell you what, let me just take a Sharpie, hold on. Let me just get a Sharpie, a big ass Sharpie, and just write on the check, sign my name, make it look like I was a 4-year-old in daycare, scribbling on the wall. That's what he gave you. Scribble. He didn't give you that money. But Joe Biden made sure you got that second stimulus check that was even bigger than the first one. But Trump did not eliminate any student debt for no black person. But for those brothers and sisters who, well, Biden, I don't like President Biden, blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, what about the price of, bread? The price of bread is so high in gas. Actually, the price of gas has dropped. Because I remember gas was up to $5. It's down to like $3 a gallon. But y'all forget that. And we talk about the price of bread or some groceries. Who do you think makes a decision on how much price gouging, how much we're going to raise the price of gas or housing? It's not the president. But think about who makes those decisions. Like the CEOs of these grocery chains and all these investors and real estate companies that own all these properties that's going up. Who do you think that they have been supporting? Who do you think they have been giving money to? Who do you think they want back in office so he can give them even bigger tax breaks for these billionaires who are price gouging you? Because there's no reason for groceries there's no delay in the supply chain. Groceries have no problem getting to the grocery stores. There's no shortage of bread or milk or eggs or whatever. There's none. And the reason there was a housing shortage in a lot of cases because you had these, like I said, investors and real estate companies went in and bought up a lot of the, as they call it, inventory, and said, okay, we're going to buy it up so the average person can't afford to buy it, and then we're going to jack up the rent sky high. Those people, all of them, supported your boy Donald Trump. So I'm giving up all the game today. So, in closing, for all the brothers and sisters that say, well, Joe Biden this, and I know all about what's happening in Gaza, which is horrible, absolutely. And you know who's responsible for that? The one person who is primarily responsible, the Israeli version of Donald Trump. The Jewish white nationalist named Bibi Netanyahu, who is basically giving President Biden his ass to kiss up until now, because finally President Biden has said, listen. And it's unfortunate that it took the aid workers that was working for our brother Chef Andreas, the World Central Kitchen, those 7 aid workers, they were doing God's work, feeding the millions of hungry Gazans that's on the verge of starvation, famine, which means when famine sets in, you're going to have almost, if not an entire population, half of a population that's already at the point of starvation to where it's irreversible. You have hundreds of thousands of millions of people who will wind up dying of starvation. That is a famine, in case you were wondering what the word famine really means. And what did Donald Trump say? For those of y'all that, say, oh, black folks love Donald Trump and President Biden, he's a genocide Joe. Well, guess what genocide Don said to Bibi Netanyahu? Finish the job. Finish the job. Kill them all. Finish, his quote, finish the job. Not like stop killing innocent Gazan women and children and innocent people. Stop intentionally starving and using starvation as a weapon of war. No, Trump didn't say that. He said to Bibi Netanyahu, finish the job. So, in November, you're not even voting for President Biden. Because it's not about whether you like President Biden. It's not even about whether you like or dislike Donald Trump, AKA Orange Jumpsuit Hitler. You are making a choice. And if you don't vote, or if you're voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is really a MAGA dude, just look at some of his policies. Look at some of his policies and look at what he's been saying lately. So if you're thinking about voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is nothing like his late father, or Cornel West, or anybody else, you are voting for Donald Trump. Because there's a binary choice. Binary. The word bi, Latin, means two. You got two choices. There's only two people that can get 270 electoral college votes in America in November. President Biden and Orange Jumpsuit Hitler. But understand that you are choosing not between these two men, you are making a choice about your future and your family's future and your friends and your neighbors and everybody that you love. You are making a choice between your freedom and their freedom and your oppression and their oppression. Because the cult members want to oppress you. They have already oppressed millions of women in America who can't make a decision, who don't have the legal right to decide whether, if they want to have a child, when they want to have a child, or not have a child. They no longer have that autonomy and freedom that the government, from the people who claim we like small government and too much government interference and red tape, but they want to allow the government to basically control a woman's body. And you good with that? And you have a cult that wants to be able to send the Marines and U.S. military, Army Rangers into Chicago and Detroit and D.C. to shoot peaceful protesters because his feelings got hurt, because people are protesting his racism and his racist, sexist policies? Oh yeah, because that's what his Lord and Savior Vladimir Putin does in Russia, and his buddy Viktor Orban does in Hungary. You are making a choice. And I can't say this enough. And this last part, the last 60 seconds, just send that, make this part go viral. You send the whole show, but if you don't video, if you don't screen grab, if you don't rip any part of the video, just rip the last 90 seconds of what I've just been saying to you, the last 2 minutes. You are making a choice. This election is a choice between your freedom and the freedom of people that you love and your oppression. It is that simple. It is not about President Biden. Really. And President Biden has acknowledged that. It's about, as flawed as this democracy is, and all the institutional racism and the history of Jim Crow and segregation and rape and lynching and all that, that's part of this history that they don't want you to teach, that they want to ban because they don't want to offend and make some white child feel bad. Even though they don't give a damn about how the black children feel, but I digress. It is a choice between your freedom. So if you're having a conversation or a debate in the barbershop, a hair salon, or while you're playing chess on the street corner, or anywhere in your house, at the cookout, the after party, the graduation, but don't ruin your family member's graduation talking about this stuff. But if the case they ask you, walk up and talk to your young nieces and nephews and sons and daughters and grandchildren. Because this is their world. My millennials and Gen Zers, it is your time. It is your world, and you have the power in America. You have the power because you have the numbers. If the millennials and Gen Zers collectively come together and say, y'all are tripping. Y'all old ass is tripping with this racism and hatred and sexism and misogyny and homophobia. Y'all need to go sit y'all ass down. Or as they say in the South back in the day, sit yo. They still say it up north too. Sit your ass down somewhere. We got this. And you got it. You got the power. Even though people are telling you, and the Russians and everything on TikTok and Instagram, oh no, don't vote, it don't matter. They all the same, ain't nothing gonna change. The people are telling you that. They are afraid of you because they know you got the power. And if you ever just realize it and say, wait a minute, hold on. I'm calling bullshit. I got the power, and we all got the power. And y'all are messed up. But it's our time. We got the power, and we're going to take control. We're going to save this democracy. We're going to put new leadership. You complain about, I heard somebody, who was that? I got a name check. Charlemagne said, we was talking about, first he said he hated on, DEI was mostly garbage. And then he said, we lack black leaders. No, we don't. Because guess what? We all are leaders. And to my millennials and Gen Zers, you all are leaders. Step into your power. Step into your leadership. Like I've said on this show, there's an old school song from the 90s by a one-hit wonder group, Snap. I got the power. Boom, boom, bum, bum, bum. Google it, and you got the power. And the people in power who don't want to let go of the power and want to use the power and the racism and the hatred and the division and misogyny and sexism and fear that's got poor and working class white people afraid of black folks that's never affected them or their life, because 75%, over 70%, I think the number is like 75%, 3/4 of all white people in America live in an all-white neighborhood. And you're afraid of black folks who have no institutional power, nowhere. They don't control Wall Street, they don't control the banks, they don't control the financial markets, they don't control the legal profession, they don't control and own the media, they don't make up the majority of doctors and nurses, they're not the CEOs of hospitals and all these healthcare companies that were really ripping you off and making it hard for you to get insurance until the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. So if you're living in a trailer park in Kentucky, in the hills of Kentucky or West Virginia, and you can't afford dental coverage because you don't want to get Affordable Care Act because it's Obamacare and that N-word. So you walk around toothless, looking like a jack-o'-lantern, and having all kind of health maladies. Instead of addressing your health, you don't want to get it because it was a black man that gave it, that made it. Don't bite your nose to spite your face. My young brothers and sisters, you got the power. And the people that are trying to oppress you know you got the power. And they don't want to lose it or let it go. And they are afraid of you taking your power and taking control of power. Because as long as they control the power in America, they understand that America has always made a small handful of people rich off of hatred, fear, division, sexism, misogyny, and racism. Fear and ignorance has always been big business. Just ask the gun manufacturers. And all the lawyers, look at all the jails, the corporate prisons, the mass incarceration. That's a whole different conversation. There's always a small handful of people that benefit on fear, ignorance, despair. And they're in power. And they don't want you to get power because they don't want to change it. They lose power, they lose money. Step into your power. To my young brothers and sisters, and to all my unaffiliated, to all those, the over 100 million people, probably closer to like 150 million, 100 million people who didn't even bother to vote. They want you to be apathetic and to give up. Because you give up and you give people your power. And they're going to use your power against you. You got the power. Use it. Grab it. It's yours. Give me my power back with your punk. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. You and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. The Geno Jones Show brought to you by CM Transportation. If your business needs dependable, reliable, on-time deliveries, or if you need a dependable, reliable, on-time transportation company, CM Transportation. M like Mary. Carissa Carter is the CEO. Reach out to her. Tell her that you were watching the Geno Show, the Geno Jones Show on TV. And your business, you want to change. Maybe the transportation company you've been using, can't depend on them, can't rely on them. They never on time. Maybe you're starting a business and you need a reliable, dependable, on-time transportation company. www.cmtransportationllc.net, cmtransportationllc.net, or you can call them, 843 area code 606 2702, 843-606-2702. Markel Bailey. Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist. Got a brother Cam already, as he calls me, Mr. 630. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, on IG. Kel be cutting up, KELBECUTTINUP, and tell him you were watching the show. Holla at him. Say, yo, Markel, Kel, man, boy, you, the official barber and hairstylist. You had your man G looking right there with the cut. All right. And the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show is Allie Jones. Check Allie and her collection out. Fashion designer, future superstar. Check her and her collection out. LX.NCL underscore is that little dash. LX.NCL underscore. The little dash behind that last L at the bottom. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. I do. I love my culture. I love my people. It's Black Americans. I love people. But I despise liars and racists and misogynists and sexists. Because it's not, I hate bullies. And I shouldn't use that word, but I do. I have real issue with bullies, because bullies are cowards. And we are all vessels, and we all can be vessels to bless or help. In case you don't believe in God, we are all vessels, and we all carry, and we emit and send out energy. And we can send out positive energy or negative energy. So be a vessel. Be a vessel. Let you, your body, your spirit, and your soul be a vessel to help somebody. Even people who may not like you and want to help you. And I know that's hard, God. No, I know that's hard. But that's what my mother teaches me. Jeannie, when you allow God, higher power, to use you as a vessel, to be a blessing, to help other people, guess what? Your blessings will come down like raindrops from heaven. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you live Thursday, 6:30 p.m. My guest, Melvin Riley, former lead singer of the group, big super group from back in the late 80s, early 90s, Ready for the World. Remember the song, big song, it was R&B, pop, smash, #1 song. Oh, Sheila, oh, Sheila. Well, he's got a brand new song, solo artist, talking about your sugar daddy. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to talk about that. He'll be my guest Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Now go back and binge watch whatever you missed. Make this show go viral. This one is epic. This one was a show for the ages. And I want to thank everybody for watching me live.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.